The Alamo stands as a legendary name embodying bravery, sacrifice, and the fight for freedom. Yet, what if the widely accepted story of this iconic battle is fundamentally flawed? Beneath the celebrated narratives of heroism, there lies a complex web of hidden truths, tales of secret agreements, deadly errors, and strange mysteries that have remained concealed for centuries. Why did settlers boldly break Mexico's strictest laws and escape consequences? How could a single cannon ignite an entire revolution? And why did the defenders of the Alamo, despite being vastly outnumbered, outgunned, and commanded by a sick leader confined to bed, choose to resist surrender, even when facing certain death? Tonight, we expose 8 baffling anomalies about the Alamo that have never been fully explained, from sacred mission walls turned into traps of death to drunken disputes that sealed the fate of an entire army. This is the hidden narrative behind the battle that reshaped history. Prepare yourself, because by journey's end, what you believed about the Alamo will be challenged. But before diving in, please like and subscribe to our channel to help support our community. As white Southern settlers pushed deeper into Texas, they brought ambitions of claiming land to establish cotton plantations. At that time, Mexico's cotton industry was thriving, attracting many who hoped to profit from it. However, Mexican authorities imposed 2 key requirements for settlers to occupy land. First, settlers had to convert to Catholicism. Second, they needed to officially become Mexican citizens. Despite these conditions, many colonists disregarded these rules once settled, creating tension with their hosts early on. Complicating matters, most settlers arrived with enslaved people, even though Mexico had outlawed slavery since 1829. As settlers continued flouting Mexican laws, maintaining enslaved workers, and occupying more land than they were permitted, the Mexican government was undergoing significant political changes of its own. Originally modeled after the United States' decentralized federal system, Mexico faced growing financial instability and widespread unrest, prompting conservative leaders to centralize power. This new centralized government enforced stricter trade tariffs, anti-slavery laws, and immigration controls. For settlers residing in the borderlands of Mexican Texas, these changes brought significant challenges. Many were undocumented immigrants whose economic ventures depended on enslaved laborers. Deeming the policies oppressive, the settlers launched rebellions. Mexican authorities blamed the growing unrest on illegal American migrants who refused to obey the nation's laws. The first clash of the Texas Revolution erupted in October 1835 at the Battle of Gonzales, though tensions had been escalating for days in an American-founded colony led by Green DeWitt. Earlier, DeWitt had convinced Mexican officials to lend the colony a 6-pound cannon for defense against raids by indigenous groups considered a threat. When the Mexican government learned that DeWitt's representatives had participated in meetings seen as rebellious, Colonel Domingo de Ugartechea was ordered to retrieve the cannon. Though he expected resistance, the colonel likely did not foresee that this routine mission would trigger skirmishes between Texan settlers and Mexican troops. These confrontations escalated into open battle that ultimately sparked revolution. As anticipated, the Texans refused to surrender the cannon. They defiantly draped it with a flag declaring, "Come and take it." Within days, Texan forces swelled to over 160 men who launched a surprise attack and forced Mexican soldiers to retreat. With this confrontation, the Texas Revolution truly ignited. Although known today as a fort, the Alamo was originally built as a mission, a religious center supporting missionaries with resources and a base for coordination. After attacks by local indigenous groups, Mexican military forces converted the mission into a temporary fort. However, its design was meant to withstand tribal raids, not prolonged artillery bombardments. The fort also lacked specialized rifle ports for defenders. Elevated walkways allowed soldiers to fire over the walls, but exposed their upper bodies, creating a major tactical vulnerability. Following the Battle of Gonzales, many settlers who had helped repel Mexican forces returned home. They were unready for an extended conflict and lacked supplies, which sharply reduced Texan forces to fewer than 200 men. This number was insufficient to hold a position like the Alamo. In December 1835, Sam Houston, commander of the Texan Army, ordered James Neal to take command of the Alamo. Neal complied, but soon abandoned his post to care for ill relatives. Leadership then passed to Lieutenant Colonel William B. Travis, the highest-ranking officer present. However, Travis's promotion upset Colonel James Bowie, famous for his knife. Many soldiers favored Bowie due to his fierce reputation and voted him into command. Though this could have eased tension, Bowie began his tenure by causing drunken disruptions in camp. Eventually, he agreed to share command with Travis. Mexican President Santa Anna grew increasingly furious as the Texas Rebellion continued. He saw the insurgents as unlawful settlers who had invaded Mexico, disregarded its laws and customs, and now threatened its territory. He demanded their immediate surrender or total destruction. The Texans refused, leading Santa Anna to declare them traitors and vow no mercy. He formalized this in a letter to U.S. President Andrew Jackson, but the message wasn't widely shared, and Jackson did not warn American volunteers that Mexico intended to execute captured rebels. The Alamo's leaders realistically assessed their grim situation. Aware of their shortage of men and supplies, they anticipated disaster once Mexican troops arrived. Colonel Neal urgently requested reinforcements from General Sam Houston, but Houston judged aid impossible and denied help. Instead, he sent Colonel Bowie with about 30 men to dismantle the fort's artillery and destroy the structure. Upon arriving, Bowie found no animals able to move the heavy cannons. Convinced the site held strategic value, he appealed directly to the Texas Provisional Government for more soldiers and weapons. His efforts proved futile. The government, engulfed in turmoil, provided no assistance. Even if help had been authorized, it likely would not have mattered. Bowie and Travis severely underestimated how quickly Santa Anna's forces would arrive. The siege of the Alamo began on February 23, 1836. Alerts about the advancing Mexican army sparked mass evacuations in nearby Bexar. Though doubtful, Travis posted a lookout in the bell tower of San Fernando Church. Within hours, scouts spotted Mexican troops just over a mile from town. The Texans remained desperately unprepared, lacking men, weaponry, and supplies for a drawn-out fight. Their precarious position became clear when Santa Anna entered San Antonio with 1,500 soldiers, while the Alamo's defenders numbered only 188. Moreover, many defenders were untrained volunteers. Yet when Santa Anna raised a red flag, signaling no mercy, the Texans refused to flee. In defiance, Travis fired a cannon at the Mexican forces. Bowie viewed this as reckless and sent an envoy to negotiate with Santa Anna. Annoyed by Bowie's interference, Travis dispatched his own messenger. Mexican officers received both and insisted on unconditional surrender. Upon hearing this, Bowie and Travis put aside their rivalry and fired the cannon together once more in defiance. The defenders faced overwhelming odds, vastly outnumbered and outgunned. One might expect them to rely on the battle-hardened Colonel Bowie for leadership, yet he fell gravely ill by the siege's second day, leaving him incapacitated. 2 doctors, including the fort's physician, examined him but could not diagnose his ailment. Bowie was occasionally carried before the troops to boost morale, but historians suggest this display likely did the opposite, disheartening the mostly inexperienced defenders who saw their supposed champion bedridden. In the siege's darkest moments, Bowie relinquished command to Travis. Both died alongside all 188 defenders, while Bowie's family, sheltered inside the fort, survived. The 13-day siege ended on March 6, 1836, with every Texan combatant dead, sparing only women and children. Though a devastating loss, scholars estimate the small garrison inflicted around 600 casualties on Mexican forces. More importantly, the fall of the Alamo ignited a fiery resolve among Texans, transforming into a rallying cry that propelled the revolution toward independence. The Alamo fell, 188 defenders were killed, a revolution was born. Yet the echoes of those 13 days still whisper unanswered questions. Why did Travis and Bowie, bitter rivals, fire that final cannon in unison? What truly caused Bowie's death? A hidden illness or something more sinister? And why did Santa Anna's supposedly unstoppable army suffer such heavy losses securing victory? The defenders became legends, but legends mask truths. What if the real story is not of heroes, but of flaws? Flaws in leadership, loyalty, and decisions that doomed them all. History remembers the Alamo as a symbol of defiance, but what if it was also a warning? A warning about pride, betrayal, and the price of rebellion. Tonight, the mysteries linger. How many of the Alamo's strangest secrets remain hidden in plain sight? Share your theories below. What is the one thing about the Alamo that still baffles you?